Hi, I'm Jason Alexander, star of Stage, Screen, and the McDonald's commercial from 1986. Tonight's debate is between tech entrepreneur Harley Rouda and incumbent Dana Rohrabacher, who's joining us via secure server from Moscow. Dana, can you hear us?
It's goodbye. If you're not going to let me say anything, it's goodbye.
I'll take that as a nyet.
Yet. Welcome back. Here in California, 7 Republicans currently represent districts where Hillary Clinton won in 2016. And one of those Republicans, 15-term Congressman Dana Rohrabacher, is in a neck-and-neck race in Orange County with first-time candidate Harley Rouda. Harley Rouda joins me now from Irvine, California. Sir, thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Casey. Glad to be on the show.
So for those of us who obviously cover Dana Rohrabacher from a position in Washington, how do you explain, in the context of your district, his seeming affinity for the Russians that ad was sort of making fun of?
Well, that's the hard part. It's tough to explain. From meeting with Russian operatives, individuals who have been identified as Russian spies, to taking checks from convicted felon Paul Manafort, to having a code name from the Kremlin. All this is very difficult to explain. And when you talk to constituents here, regardless of where they are in the political spectrum, they recognize that this has very little to do with creating jobs here in Orange County, helping their families, helping their community, helping their schools, helping their kids. So there's a lot of questions to be answered.
Do you get the sense that the people that you hope to represent, I mean, do they care about Dana Rohrabacher's posture towards Russia, or is it simply a non-issue in the race?
Well, it depends on where they are on the spectrum, but regardless, again, it shows his lack of understanding what are the real needs in the district by spending so much time on behalf of Russia. And I think a really interesting thing here is the interview he had with Mueller, as well as the interview he had with the House Intelligence Committee. You know, the interview he had with the House Intelligence Committee has not been released. And we're trying to figure out what Dana Rohrabacher is trying to hide. Why won't he demand that it be released? All we've gotten is a footnote so far that says he met with 2 Russian spies and he knew they were Russian spies.
Your opponent, Congressman Rohrabacher, has accused you of saying that you want to impeach President Trump. And so I'm wondering where you stand on that. Do you think that there is evidence right now that suggests that this president should be impeached?
Well, Dana Rohrabacher is desperate, so he'll say just about anything. But I've been very specific all along that we need to make sure that Mueller has the time to do the breadth and depth that his investigation deserves. And it's certainly paying off when we just look at the number of indictments that have already come down. So I believe we need to wait and see that investigation come to conclusion. Let's see what it says. Let's go from there.
Let's talk about immigration because it has been so much in the news these past few days with the caravan coming toward the southern border. And the focus in Washington has been in many ways on a potential path to citizenship for Dreamers. Is that something you would support? Would you support a path to citizenship for Dreamers? And also, would you support allowing them to sponsor their parents for legal status here in the United States?
I do think we need to have a path towards citizenship for the Dreamers. But I think the more important thing here is let's go back in time to 2013, Senate Bill 744 that was passed with bipartisan support 2-to-1 that provided $46 billion for port and border security and a pathway to citizenship for Dreamers that went to the House of Representatives, where Dana Rohrabacher and the other Republicans never let it get to the floor to be voted on, even though there was majority support in the House of Representatives. And that's the problem we've got with the system and why I'm running. We've got too many politicians that care about themselves and have been living off taxpayers' dollars, in Dana's case, 30 years. And we need to get folks who are willing to reach across the aisle and put country and community first.
If you had the opportunity to vote on Judge Kavanaugh's nomination at the Supreme Court, and I fully understand you're not running for the Senate, so that's not a realistic possibility. However, it has been something that altered the landscape across the country. Do you think that he is qualified to be a Supreme Court nomination, and do you support his being on the bench?
I actually think we need to go back and reset this so that we have at least 60 senators approving these nominations. And I think Harry Reid and then Mitch McConnell made the mistake of reducing this down to 50. We need justices on the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeals who represent mainstream America. And in the case here, we have the contentiousness of this debate when that would be eliminated if we would go back to that type of a system.
Yep. Since it's Sunday night, I also have one NFL question for you. Do you support NFL players kneeling during the anthem? Do you feel as though that's protected and understandable speech, or do you think that's something that you don't think players should be engaged in?
Well, I think it's protected speech, obviously, but again, we've got a president of the United States who's using this issue to divide the country instead of working as the leader of our country, the one that holds the highest office in the land. Instead of trying to bring Americans together, he's using that as an opportunity to pit us against each other. Let's get the work of the country done. Let's focus on the real issues that confront us.
All right, Harley Rouda, thanks very much for your time. We're going to be watching your race carefully. Perhaps I will see you in Washington in January. Who knows?
You're always welcome here, Casey.
Thanks very much. That does it for us tonight here on KasieDC. We'll be back with you next week from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern, 4 to 6 Pacific. For now, good night.